Today on the Diabetes Podcast.
The person that I'm talking to likely has 50% of their functioning beta cells, and they are in this incorrect belief that it's not that bad yet when they're already halfway gone.
What would it look like if you started treating your pancreas like your retirement savings?
The truth is there's so many other factors that come into play with diabetes beyond what you put in your mouth.
Hello and welcome to the Diabetes Podcast. I'm Richie.
And I'm Amber.
And Amber, today we are talking about some common mistakes that we find people are often making that are, let's just say, not helping them move their type 2 diabetes in the right direction.
Yes. So we'll just jump into number one, which is waiting and thinking that their diabetes is not that bad yet. So
I know the answer to this one.
What's the answer to this one, sir?
This thing almost uniformly gets worse.
Mm-hmm. Why? I'm flipping the script.
I think it's because of exactly what you said. It's not that bad yet. I always like to liken this disease is very similar to going to the mechanic and them telling you, hey, we noticed that this tire here has a little bit left on it, and rather than changing all four at that time, we're going to punt it down the road. If you talk to any guy in the mechanical trade, they'll tell you, yeah, man, you're supposed to get your AC serviced every single year on your house. Nobody does that. Nobody gets their air conditioning serviced until the air conditioning blows up. In general, we as a species are not proactive. We are reactive. I see a thing and I adjust to the thing. We do not leverage our ability to foresee problems before they happen and then to modify behaviors to prevent them from happening. We have the capacity, but not necessarily the
ability.
We have the, I would say we absolutely have the ability.
Not the ability.
Not the habit. We do not habitually cut problems off at the pass.
Yeah. Well, and what I think about around that is, I guess, my insight when I'm talking to someone who says that they're okay for now, it's not that bad, just take some metformin, do a little bit of this. And my perspective is that beta cells are already depleted, that the person that I'm talking to likely has 50% of their functioning beta cells. And they are in this incorrect belief that it's not that bad yet when they're already halfway gone. So I would love to just, it is that bad, man. Like, hey, let's go. It was that bad yesterday. And now, like, you might not be feeling it. Like, this is something, a conversation I had with my dad was, I don't feel any different. I feel the same. I feel fine. But I noticed him being more slow. I noticed him having less energy. And maybe part of that was also congestive heart failure for him. And unfortunately, that is also a big risk factor for people with type 2. And I think that's also something that people tend to believe, that there's this issue right here, and then there's this other issue over here, and then there's another one over here, and they're completely separate. They're not connected at all. And most of the time that is patently false, that the reason the person has congestive heart failure has to do with the fact that their blood sugars are higher, or the highly processed foods that led to insulin resistance, that led to higher blood sugars, that then put an extra load on the heart, which led to congestive heart failure.
Which, again, probably need to beat this drum again, didn't happen overnight. This is a pattern of years and years of, let's just say, less than ideal behaviors regarding cardiovascular health, all that other kind
and
of
it doesn't feel like it's a big deal because this is the same way all your friends are eating. Everybody's going and getting a hot dog. Everybody's having chips and dip at the game. Everybody's running to a fast food restaurant on the way home and back. And to that, I'm stealing this from Tony Robbins, change your everybody. If you feel that everybody's doing something a certain way, you might need to look at your everybody. And I'm not saying like dump your friends, they have bad habits, but you might need better role models for a better way of eating.
The environment is very powerful, and the environment's ability to shape this disease cannot be understated.
Right.
So if you do not actively control your environment, the environment right now will 50% of the time result in metabolic disease. Mm-hmm. Got an analogy if you're interested.
Yours are better than mine, typically.
So you talked about by the time people get to you, they're at 50%. Typically, a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes.
It's not by the time they get to me. It's by the time they get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
By the time they're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, they're up. It can be safely assumed at about 50% beta cell function, right? Well, really what we're saying is your pancreas is working at half capacity, right? Or at least the cells in your pancreas that produce insulin. Now, I expect my pancreas to work for the rest of my life. I'll die at some point in time, and it would be real convenient if my pancreas holds out till then. But I think that's a common assumption, that the organs that I have are going to function as long as I'm alive. What would it look like if you started treating your pancreas like your retirement savings, right? Let's say...
I don't know if not everyone's good at that.
I'm going to try and land this plane. If you were talking to your financial advisor, let's say you're 10 years out from retirement, and they said, through no fault of your own, through some kind of crazy mismanagement or the market variables, or all like whatever, half of your life savings just got wiped out. You didn't do anything. You just found out that this happened. Sorry. Are you going to do something different starting now, knowing that you don't have what you thought you had to get you through the rest of your life? Whatever you thought retirement was going to look like, whatever you thought the rest of your days, that level of comfort, that's gone. Upon the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, now that doesn't mean that it can't be better, but it means that you're going to have to start doing something. You can't continue doing things exactly the same way you've been doing it. The game changed.
Exactly.
The game is different now. You're now at a time when you thought you were doing pretty good, you're actually behind. You're behind by 50%. Now we get to make it up on an accelerated path. Now we get to start adopting the behaviors that actually give that pancreas some rest, hopefully recover some of that beta cell function, but at a minimum, preserve the 50% that we have. We're going to baby those guys like nobody's business.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent analogy. You did good. And you can even carry that out to someone's life with type 2 diabetes. And what I mean by that is if you were expecting to be able to play with your grandchildren all of your days, what does that look like if you have less energy, less mobility? And just like if the script got flipped, what does that mean in terms of what you do differently? And diabetes is a script flipping condition, no doubt. And if you're under any sort of veil that it's not, if you take nothing else from this podcast, know that it is. This is a monumental shift moment where things have to change in the direction to get out of having type 2 diabetes. And anybody who has type 1 diabetes or latent autoimmune diabetes of adulthood would say,
if there was a thing I could do, I would do it. Yeah.
Anything. If there was anything I could do to not have to take insulin, to not have to worry about every single thing that I put in my mouth because I have to match it with insulin, I would do it. Like you say, jump, how high, what to do. And around that as well, I think oftentimes people will say to me, usually an elder lady or gentleman will say, well, you've never had to worry about this. You can eat whatever you want. And that is wholly false. Now, will I have ice cream from time to time or a cookie here and there? Yes. But I understand that if that was my pattern or my behavior, that I would need to counsel myself that I could slip into type 2 diabetes or having excess weight. And even now I notice if I'm not planning my meals well enough, and you've helped a lot with that because you've been feeding me more lately. But I mean, if I'm busier with life and not doing the things that I need to do, I can see weight start to shift. And that's my cue to okay, I need to cut out having that little something sweet every night after dinner.
I would say this. I've always maintained that you're very disciplined, but kind of looking back, what I realize is that you've really just been very consistent. Your eating patterns, almost really as long as I've known you, have been very consistent.
Which brings me to point number 2. So
this is going to come back on me somehow.
The second myth is that I have to be perfect, that perfection beats consistency. So you didn't even know that, and you led us right into that. Is yes, I have been consistent across time, and I like to think that improvements have been made as I learn more strategies, as I learn how to do things better. Do people slip? Does everyone slip? Yes. And then you just pick it back up. I would love to just drink some frilly Starbucks drink once a week or every day. Or I would love to have ice cream with abandonment. I would love to do all of those things, but I don't, because I understand that it doesn't cross my worth it line, that there's what I want and how I identify. So this is actually another one that I'm getting ahead of in a minute, but there's who I am, and I am someone who takes care of this body that I've determined has to get me to at least 100 years, because my great grandparents, for the most part, for the women in my life, have all lived somewhere between 95 to 98. I have one grandmother that passed at 89, but for the most part, they've been in the mid to high 90s. So I know that this vehicle has to last, that I'm going to still be in it. And I've seen my great grandmother who walked every day of her life and took care of herself and had a beautiful 98, almost 99 years. And then I saw another grandmother who was bedridden for the past 4 to 5 years of her life. And I don't want that. That's not the way that I want to spend my final years. So back to the consistency over perfection. It's just having your habits that you do day in and day out, and minding bad ones, looking at where you might be self-sabotaging. For a while, I would not pack my lunch and would barely have a breakfast, and I'd take out going from place to place for work. And then on my drive back, when I went to this certain place, there was a Dairy Queen. And so here I am, I haven't eaten in 5 or 6 hours or longer. I'm stressed at the end of a long day. I'm ready to be home. And there is Dairy Queen. So I haven't set myself up for success. And so I got into this habit of stopping by that Dairy Queen every day, getting my little blizzard. And then at some point I'm like, okay, what is happening here? What is going on? I bet if I brought a lunch with me that I would not be as susceptible. I've got to break this habit here. And so habits can serve you, or they can be your Achilles heel. So you really want to choose the habits that serve you best to get you in the direction that you want to be in and have the outcomes that you want.
If I myself had not fallen victim to what we call the summer of the roux and the effects of daily Slurpee ingestion for an entire summer. Yeah.
Summer of Rue was real bad
Yeah.
on you.
Not good for.
I think that's the heaviest you've ever been.
Yes.
Summer of the Rue.
And it was 100% Slurpee. That was the only thing that changed was I was having 2 Slurpees a day, one on the way in and one.
Slurpees. I remember doing the math on the calories on that. And I
it was
believe
1,400 calories a day of sugar.
You remember,
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that will add up super fast.
That's more than half of your daily calories from sugar water.
And I was just,
you were a little
so at the time I was 33-ish, just coming out of the military. So, I mean, physically still pretty doing okay. And in one summer, I completely changed my body composition.
Yes, you did.
Just from drinking.
Do you know how much
Slurpee.
weight you gained?
I gained 15 pounds over the summer.
15 pounds?
It was not muscle.
No, I know. That's incredible.
Yeah. But I was very consistent with a bad behavior. It absolutely.
Yes. But if you do the math, that's about a pound every 3 days. So that's 10 pounds a month. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
That over the summer, you would gain 15 pounds.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I justified it because I was on a hot roof the entire time. So I knew it was a bad behavior, but it was okay because I was going to be in a hot place and this is somehow going to magically offset, and it does not.
I'm sure no one listening can relate to justifying behavior. I mean, we all do it. It's just like, I know this isn't good, but how do I make it okay? I look for things to support my belief. Oh, I've been on a hot roof. Of course, I'm pouring down sweat. That's got to be 800 calories right there. Then makes sense. Okay, so the other, looking for the perfect diet over something sustainable. So really, the perfect diet is whatever is sustainable for you. I think people spend a lot of time online, and that ad grabs them about this supplement that does this, that this thing in the Amazon rainforest is the missing ingredient to this. If only you had this, then you'd be able to burn fat. Or look at her. She looks like how I want to look, and she is touting the carnivore diet. So must be working for someone, and there's no carbs in here, so they won't raise my sugar, and just all sorts of things. And while I am not a fan of the carnivore diet for many reasons, it's really about what works for you. If someone comes to me and says, I love this way of eating, this is what works for me, this is great, I might discuss other things later, but not right off the bat, not at all. If that's what's working and that's what's motivating someone and that's what is sustainable for them and getting them the outcomes that they want, I'm not going to debate that with them. It's about what is sustainable and what works for you. Then we can look at other things like cardiovascular health and what is the source of these, and having a more balanced diet.
Speaking of that, in your professional opinion, and I feel like I could do the math, but I want to make sure that my understanding is correct. Can you do the carnivore diet and still meet the recommended thresholds for daily saturated fat intake?
It would be extremely challenging. I would say the carnivore diet as it stands, you would be very challenged to do so. However, in terms of your lipid profile, most of the time people on a diet such as that would have extremely high triglyceride levels. And we had our cholesterol episode, and it's really about those APO boats, like how many of those are floating around us to inflammation. And so if you're still in a caloric deficit, you don't have a lot of excess floating around because you're using all of the calories. I would say oftentimes more challenging to have a caloric deficit in such a diet. But if you do maintain a caloric deficit, it could still be helpful.
Okay.
So, number 4 is meds are a failure. Oftentimes, people will push back on taking diabetes medications and will plead with their physician for just give me 3 more months. Just let me, I want to try this. I heard about this. Just give me time to do this. And if that's the carrot that moves you to really create and establish new habits and do something different, great. Most of the time, life gets in the way and people revert back to what they were doing. And then another 3 months has gone where the blood sugars are uncontrolled. So, or I'm not going back to see that doctor because I just don't want to know. I don't want to face the music, if you will. I don't want to deal with that. So that can come up as well.
Got another analogy?
Yes, give it.
Ready. All right. So we've often talked about medication as a scaffolding, right? And change it up a little bit today. Medication is the spare in your trunk. If you have a blowout, if you have a diagnosis that you weren't expecting, because nobody expects to have a blowout when they go driving down the highway, you're going to put on the donut to get you to a place where you can ultimately get the car back with a full-size tire running like it's supposed to and all that other kind of stuff. Or you can just ride that flat, and I've seen any number of videos of people just running that thing and sparks shooting off on the highway, and you're damaging your car. You're never going to be right again. So please pull over, put on the donut. Nobody likes the donut. The donut's not cool. Your car doesn't handle as well. That's not what it's intended for. It's intended to get you to be a bridge to get you to, in the case of medication, to immediately lower that A1C to a threshold where we can really start focusing on blood sugar and not just the big overarching A1C.
Yes. And there's a lot of questions and controversy around the glucagon-like peptides, the GLP-1 receptor agonist. And which, let's just be candid, was originally developed for diabetes applications. It's only fairly recently that it's been approved for a weight loss application. Fairly recently, like in the past 4 years or so.
But I mean, they've been around for a long time. They're not a new medication. They're new in how they're being applied.
Exactly. I like that you point that out because I've had people come to me.
Yeah,
and
they
say,
just came out of
nowhere. What about these brand new
not
drugs?
At all.
No, the GLP-1s came out originally in 2005. And that's really when you had Similan and Amylin. And then that was further developed for the GLP-1. So you had Amylin, Byetta, Bydureon, exenatide was the key medication in that. And then you had semaglutide and all of these that developed. And then they mixed them with things that helped them last longer. And now some of the new ones are mixed with a GIP. And they're also looking at the glucagon in the retatrutide, that aspect of that. So you could use that to help you lose weight, to kind of get a leg up while you establish new habits, because what's not more motivating than weight loss? And that weight loss can have it where your knees don't hurt as much. There's not as much strain on your back and hips. And so you can do things so that at that year mark where weight loss becomes more challenging with this class of drugs, you've created habits that are going to keep that weight loss sustainable. So,
probably also a good time to mention that your body's fully capable of producing GLP-1 in your gut in response to the amount of dietary fiber that you're intaking. So if you're going to be doing the thing, it probably would be a wise thing to make sure that you're getting
to make the changes to have your reliable replacement naturally. Yes. So the other is that one meal ruined everything, or that all progress is lost. Abandoned ship. It's all gone now. And what's funny is this is a mindset or a mentality that I used to have at one point. I remember when I was in college and really believed that a really good diet, nutrition could help me perform better in my athletic endeavors. And so, but I was also not eating enough calories oftentimes. So sometimes the hunger would just be so strong that I would eat cookie dough or what have you. And I would have sort of this binging type behavior. And this was pretty rare, but it would occur. And then it was like caution to the wind. Like, well, I can only absorb so much fat and I've already ruined how I'm eating for the day. So might as well go eat this and do that too and do that. And then I've told this story before, but I had that nutrition course where we learned about a fecal fat test, and it was positive if you had more than 6 grams of fat. And that's usually with cystic fibrosis patients. But anyway, I was like, I remember raising my hand with my professor, and it was like, what do you mean 6 grams of fat? That's really low. And she's like, yes, because you absorb all of your food. You're designed to take in the food that you eat and use it to fuel your body. And my mind was blown that day.
Because caloric rich environments are a fairly new thing from a human species evolutionary development standpoint.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a very recent phenomenon that we are ill-equipped for biologically.
Oh yeah, my little college mind was blown and forever changed. There are some like key pivotal things, and that was one. So now it's my turn for an analogy. Imagine if you're driving from New York to LA and you get off on the wrong exit headed south. You're not going to say, well, I guess I'm going to Florida now. Like, no, you're going to reroute and get back on the road and start heading towards LA. You're not just going to stay in Florida. That's ridiculous. Yet we'll do that kind of behavior with our food, which I find so incredibly interesting.
I have the methodology that works for me. I was historically a very good student, did all my homework and did the things. I really like kind of the letter grade system where, let's say, just for kind of easy math, you're probably going to have 1,000 meals a year, close to it, right? You could totally screw up 100 meals a year and still have an A. If you were really intentional in making sure you were doing all the filling out my plate right, I'm making sure I'm getting all the things that diabetes hates. If I had 90% of my meals diabetes hates and 10% diabetes loves, I think you're still winning. I think you're still doing okay.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I remember this book, maybe it came out like 10, 15 years ago, I'm not sure, but it was called The Ice Cream Diet, and a dietitian wrote it. And she wrote it because a friend of hers said, well, as long as I can have ice cream, I'll eat whatever. Just give me ice cream every day and I'll follow whatever diet it is. So she got this idea from her. She basically developed this for her friend and then made a book out of it where it's just meal plan after meal plan, but every day is built in enough calories for ice cream every day. So I think that's genius. And it speaks to, it's the cumulative effect of your nutrition that makes the biggest difference.
It also speaks to how powerful that identity in food thing can be.
Yes.
I've been mostly plant-based for several months now, but that longing for mustard-based pulled pork barbecue has not diminished. It's still there and it's still very strong. I have not been tested yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, that's not exactly where I thought you were going to go when you mentioned identity, but where I would take identity is more, and please know, I'm not dismissing your affinity for
the struggle's real, Amber.
Pulled pork barbecue. Yes. So I think it's more about when you don't meet a goal that you've set, when something happens, if you come back to your identity around that, it helps you get back on track. It helps you not wallow in any kind of pity or in that. It's like, well, identity as someone who does not stop at Dairy Queen every day and get a Blizzard. Like, my identity is someone who fuels my body with good nutrition. Yeah. Not that there's not space for a Dairy Queen Blizzard here or there. You're not falling, to your point of the 10%. You haven't done yourself in for perpetuity. But I know that if I do that, I might feel more inflamed. I might feel more tired. I'm not as energetic as I want to be. And it just doesn't fit into the identity that I have as someone who wants to move my body in any way that I want, whenever I want to, and feel great as best I can. So I know sugar high, sugar low is not really in line with that. So the next one to that point is mistake number 6 is not preparing for success.
This one probably affects me more than anything else. If I'm on my game, it runs like clockwork. Snacks are distributed and Amber's happy and everybody's getting proper nutrition and all that kind of stuff. And the second I start winging it, it falls apart pretty quickly. And more often than not, that ends up meaning that we're getting Taco Bell tonight, kids, because that's what I got time for, because I did not do the work ahead of time. To even know to make sure that all the resources are available to start the meal an hour before, whatever that is, that requires work before the actual need to eat the meal.
Absolutely.
And usually, if I'm doing it well, usually several days before, here's the plan. It's already resourced, all that other kind of stuff.
Because when are you going to have time to go to the grocery store? When are you going to have, in many cases, for many people, when are you going to have the budget to get the groceries that you really want to purchase? Also, understanding that brown rice, beans, very inexpensive, complete protein, lots of fiber, that you have choice around that as well, and just preparing to get enough protein, to get enough fiber, to look at the well-roundedness of your plate. Is half of it non-starchy veggies? And then with exercise, are your clothes laid out ahead of time? What day is laundry? I mean, you can take it with any of those things, and the further you go back, typically the better prepared you will be. The better prepared you will be to fight off the birthday that's twice a month when cake gets brought into work. And really, it's about having enough protein and fiber and all of that in your meals, because if you brought something but it really wasn't satisfying or fulfilling, you're still going to be pretty susceptible to that cake, versus if you ate an hour ago carrots and hummus and you really felt satiated, it's easier to turn down something like that. So mistake number 7 is believing that I just need to get motivated first and then I can do it. Like, let me just wait and find the motivation.
So I think earlier we talked about consistency. Motivation is never consistent.
No.
That is an absolute false assumption that motivation, I can just train motivation. I wish that were true.
Yes.
That would be great if it were. But relying on motivation will fail every time.
Absolutely. And I've learned that through this podcast. Like, I have a desire to share knowledge, to share what I've learned, to be a resource for people. But oftentimes I lack the motivation. I want to be a bum that Saturday. Like, I rode or ran that morning. I just want to lay in the bed and do nothing. But
well, I mean, and let's just, you say I want to be a bum right there. That's a judgment statement.
Yeah,
right? That's a judgment statement around,
so true.
I've been very active and I need to rest, and rest is when I recover. So if you are pedal to the metal and you're burning the candle at both ends, it is reasonable to expect to need rest. It is reasonable to expect to, like we just got done talking about planning, to build in the plan for this is when I'm going to rest. This is an analogy. This is one of my most favorite stories of the difference between an active duty and reserve mindset. Is we were on a mission at Camp Shelby, and they were rolling out how we were going to do this course. And the course was going to take place over 3 days. And they had this beautiful little Gantt chart, and each course took 8 hours to get through, and they were just going to roll room after the other. And they asked if anyone had any questions. And little me in the back of the room raised my hand, and I said, "When are we going to sleep?" And it was,
I love this story.
It was real quiet. It was real quiet because, again, I cannot stress how pretty the chart was. Very beautiful. Everything was laid out, very organized. But nobody thought we're just going to run 72 hours straight and not build in sleep. And the answer was, we'll be all right. And within the first 12 hours, I think they had like 3 accidents and they had to stop training because, again, it's just your body.
We'll be all right.
You need to plan to recover.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking exclusively about just physical activity. Life is hard. If you're listening to the diabetes podcast, your life has had some difficulties
if you're a human on this planet,
at some point, right? You are currently enduring some challenges. Have some grace for yourself, and it's okay to rest. Now, it's not okay if you're sleeping 16 hours a day, that might be indicative that there's some other stuff going on and we might need to do some stuff. But do not beat yourself up for needing to rest, to needing to have downtime and recovery time, because that's when you heal. Even under ideal circumstances, if I'm training hard, it is particularly that deep sleep portion of sleep when my body actually rebuilds that new tissue. And if I don't get that, I just break down. I just break down and break down and break down and break down until you break. So I hear your bum statement. I would challenge you to maybe reframe that to, I've had a very busy week. There's a lot on the plate and I need some downtime. I need to be physically and mentally unengaged to allow myself to come back and to hit it as hard consistently as I'm called to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Very beautiful. And also taking action can create motivation. For me, with one of our podcasts, I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about what I know from 20 years of diabetes. And it was crickets. So I was like, I know nothing. I've nothing. And then it was, okay, what's motivating me to do this? Who am I here for? Why am I doing this? And I thought of all of the conversations that I've had with people. And when you go back to your why, when you go back to that motivation that you're looking for, like, why do you even want to do what you're trying to find that motivation for? And when you tap into the source of that is often where you find the momentum, and then that creates motivation, like just taking action in that direction. And then you become motivated. You don't wait for the motivation.
Well, I think you touch on another point, which is typically, I don't want to use the word selfish because I don't think that's the right word. I think it is often far more effective if your why is outside of yourself. If both of us have a background in rowing back in college, most mornings I was not motivated to go to practice, certainly not that early, but I knew that there were 8 other people who were going to be there who would be very upset if I wasn't, and would in fact come to my door and tell me how upset they were at a very early time of the day. So I don't think I ever missed a practice because I knew that other people were counting on me.
There were 8 other people counting on you.
If your identity is, I'm a great grandma, fantastic. Let's leverage that.
Wherever your hard point is, have a photo of your grandkids there.
You will show up for your grandkids in ways that you will not show up for yourself. And that's not a human failing. That's just a much more powerful motivator than just, I'm always ready to go. Nobody's like that. Nobody can maintain that level of just stimulus, arousal, whatever you want to call that. But you will show up for your loved ones forever. That's just kind of the nature of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next mistake is that diabetes is all about food. So because it's an issue with the glucose getting inside the cells, or insulin resistance, having glucose, having a hard time getting inside the cell, it becomes all about food. And the truth is there's so many other factors that come into play with diabetes beyond what you put in your mouth. Is what you put in your mouth the big part of it? Absolutely. But so is sleep. So is your activity. So is your stress level. So is your body composition, which you can affect hopefully through your food and your movement and your stress level and your sleep.
So is your state of pregnancy, as we've come to on recent episodes find out that affects insulin resistance as well.
Yes. So it's a lot more than just tell me what to eat, which is something that I hear all the time. Because the truth is I can tell you exactly what to eat. And then you say, well, I don't like those. That's expensive. How do you cook that? I don't know what that is. That doesn't really work for me. I don't like mustard. How do I get those ingredients? What's that recipe? So it's not that simple as just tell me what to eat. And what to eat varies for everyone. How many calories do you need versus you're going to eat more calories than me. So you're going to need more fiber than me. You're going to need more protein than me. All of those things are variables that I can't just be like, eat this.
Yeah.
But eat this is very black and white. Eat this is very cut and dry. Eat this, you can somewhat take to the bank, wrap your head around like, oh, there's the answer. I have it. And that's just not how it works. Nutrition is about nuance. Nutrition is about specificity. It's tailored to you as the individual. It goes all the way back to your childhood. Speaking of you and your pulled pork barbecue, it goes back to the foods that you were fed as a child and the memories that you've created around food. If you were an emotional eater, I could tell you what to eat all day, but if that trigger, that stress comes in, and your ability to deal with that emotion and deal with that stress is by putting food in your mouth, I could tell you what to eat till the cows come home. It doesn't change the reason why you grab what you grab when you're in that emotional state. Yeah. So the last one, number 9, is believing that you can do this all by yourself, that you can do it alone without help, that this is just diabetes.
In all fairness, you could.
1.4%. I knew exactly where you were going.
1.6.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very unlikely. This is more where I really love the draft analogy.
The NFL draft analogy.
That none of those guys are sitting at that table by themselves. If you want to have...
They've got their coach. They've got their family. They've got...
Their very specific coach for this one specific thing that they do. And they got a financial guy. And they got all the other... Like, there's this whole team dedicated to taking this young person to the next level.
Absolutely.
Well, statistically, in the general population, the numbers aren't wildly different of people that I had diabetes, but I made the changes successfully, and now I can live the last phase of my life like I expected to. But a long time ago, when I imagined what this kind of the last chapters looked like, diabetes is not in anybody's plan for what they think that, and all the other stuff.
What the kids say nowadays is it wasn't in their bingo card.
Wasn't in their bingo card. I haven't heard that one, but I'm also old, so.
Yeah. And it goes back to the analogy of you can walk from New York to LA. Yeah. You certainly could. You're going to have to buy a couple new shoes along the way. You might have to rent a canoe to get across a couple of bodies of water. You might have tons of blisters. It might take your entire life, but you can get there.
Yep.
Or you can rent a car, or you can fly a plane. So there are different ways to get there, and some are a lot faster and a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
if you have not done so yet, now would be a good time. Head on over to roadmap.thediabetespodcast.com. Download that free remission roadmap. If you still need additional help, you're always welcome to reach out to us at support@empowereddiabetes.com. We are here to help.
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, that has been yet another episode of the Diabetes Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Diabetes Podcast. If you like what you heard, please click that follow or subscribe button, and don't forget to check out roadmap.thediabetespodcast.com for that free pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes remission roadmap. Until next time, take courage. You can do this, and we can help.